They built 14 cabins along my shoreline, 14 full foundations, private boat launches, bronze address plaques, everything. 3 years of construction for $0.2 million invested. And the entire time, I was sitting on a single piece of paper that made every one of those structures illegal. I never said a word. Diane, the HOA president who approved the entire project, assumed my silence meant ignorance. She thought I was just another quiet landowner who had inherited property without understanding its value. She never asked questions, never verified records, never pulled the original 1963 deed my grandfather had filed with the county clerk, the one that clearly included a shoreline easement forbidding exactly what she was building. So I let her continue. I let her complete construction. I let her sell memberships at $78,000 each. I let her take out a $2.1 million construction loan. I let her host a ribbon-cutting ceremony. Then, on the closing day for the final 2 cabins, I walked into the title office, carrying one document. I've been reading property deeds since I was 18. On my 18th birthday, my father handed me a manila folder. Inside were the original land deed, easement documents, 2 survey plats, and a handwritten note from my grandfather. After that, I spent 22 years working as a contractor for the Army Corps of Engineers, surveying land rights for federal waterway projects. I understand repairing easements. I knew exactly what I had. Diane didn't know that I knew. This land is called Harlan's Cove. My grandfather, Henry Harlan Beaumont, purchased these 3.4 acres in 1962 with 15 years of railroad savings, paying in cash. My great-grandmother once stood in that water. My grandfather built the dock by hand. My father taught me to fish on the flat granite shelf at the edge of the water. My daughter learned to swim here when she was 6, for generations on the same shoreline. That's what this was about, not square footage, not market value, but legacy. That old mailbox post still painted with Beaumont in my grandfather's handwriting. And here's what Diane built. 14 lakefront cabins, full foundations, private boat launches, bronze plaques. Memberships sold at $78,000 each, bringing in nearly $19 million in revenue. A $2.1 million construction loan. She rerouted protected drainage channel, cut down 11 mature trees from a county habitat corridor in one afternoon, and poured a concrete boat launch over a mapped wetland buffer without a state permit. For $0.2 million spent on land she had no legal right to touch. I am a patient man. My grandfather was patient too. We both understood that in property disputes, the most dangerous move isn't filing a lawsuit, it's the silence before it. My grandfather walked into the Harlan County Recorder's office in September of 1962 with a cashier's check, a hand-drawn property sketch, and 15 years of hard labor behind him. He wasn't wealthy. He was a maintenance worker who had sacrificed for years to buy something meaningful. 3.4 acres along the cove. He paid in cash, shook hands with the recorder, went home, and began building a dock the very next weekend. The land sits in a natural bowl along the eastern shoreline. A ridge of old white pines shields it from the wind. The cove is spring-fed, cold and clear even in the hottest months. At the water's edge lies a flat granite shelf wide enough for 2 chairs and a cooler, a place my grandfather found on his first visit and used for the rest of his life. But the dock wasn't his smartest decision. His smartest move happened at that recorder's office. Before leaving, he filed a shoreline easement, a recorded right-of-way and access clause ensuring that no neighboring property owner could obstruct, alter, or commercialize the natural drainage feeding the cove. 2 pages, a handwritten addendum, properly witnessed and notarized. He did it because 3 years earlier, an upstream neighbor had nearly blocked the creek out of carelessness. My grandfather had to fight it legally, and though he won, he decided he would never fight that battle again. So he secured it in writing, permanently recorded in the county system, and rarely spoke of it again. What most people don't understand is this. Easements like that don't disappear. They don't expire from neglect. They don't weaken with time. They attach to the land itself. Surviving ownership changes, HOA restructures, and decades of silence. Quiet, permanent, waiting. My father inherited the property in 1991 and maintained it quietly. The HOA at the time was small, 8 families, minimal fees, simple responsibilities like road grading and maintaining a shared boat ramp. Nothing ambitious, nothing disruptive. That changed in 2014 when Gerald stepped down. Diane Harwick stepped in. No one challenged her. At first, she seemed harmless, polished, confident, always dressed like she belonged somewhere more upscale. She called herself a community advocate. Her LinkedIn described her as a real estate developer. Within a year, dues tripled. Committees were formed. Plans were discussed. And buried within meeting notes was the first mention of cabin development along the eastern shoreline. My father passed away in 2019. When I went through his belongings, I found the same manila folder he had given me years earlier, now thicker with added documents. Inside was everything, including a note from my grandfather. Don't let them take the water. I contacted a property attorney. She confirmed it immediately. The easement was valid, enforceable, and explicitly prohibited the kind of development Diane was planning. I attended the next HOA meeting. Diane presented full color plans. 14 cabins, paved access, private boat launch. The room applauded. I smiled politely, renewed my dues, and said nothing. Permits began appearing in 2020. I reviewed each one. None referenced the easement. Construction began in 2021. 1 cabin became 3, then 6. By fall, the development was well underway. Then they rerouted the drainage channel. 11 mature trees were cut down. A concrete launch blocked part of the shoreline my family had used for generations. I stood there, took a photo, and remained silent, because in property law, damages grow with every action. By early 2023, 12 cabins were complete. 2 remained under construction. All memberships were sold. On paper, it looked like a success. But nobody had read the original deed, and that was a mistake.